Hey, how's it going, everyone? And thank you again for tuning in to my YouTube channel. My name is BiTO, and in this episode, I am going to talk about a topic that has really hit home in the last couple years, and that's the topic of survivor's guilt. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with this term, it simply means that it's a response to an event in which someone else experienced loss and you did not. So, of course, in my situation, my circumstance, I survived cancer, and I know a lot of people. I had some good friends who did not survive this terrible illness, and always when that comes around, my thought is, why did I survive and they didn't? And so I'm going to be talking about in this episode how I've been kind of coping with this feeling and what I've been doing to help my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings during this time. So one of the coping skills that I've been kind of getting into, there are a few of them. The first one is to accept and allow the feelings. So every time I attend a funeral from someone who had passed because of cancer, I get this feeling of guilt, and I recognize, why I'm feeling that. I recognize my feelings. I recognize that it's part of this coping mechanism, and I know why I'm feeling this, because again, the feeling of guilt, telling myself, why them and not me? Why am I so lucky to survive this illness and they weren't? So that's part of the coping strategies. Another one is to connect with others, share your feelings with family, your friends. I think being part of this Blood and Platelets podcast, where I'm a co-host with two other cancer survivors, us being able to share our feelings, me being able to share my thoughts, that has really helped me cope with this post-cancer survivor's guilt type feeling. Sharing thoughts and feelings with them, because they recognize, they understand my thoughts and feelings. If I were to tell someone who has not gone through a traumatic experience, it doesn't have to be, surviving cancer, but any kind of traumatic experience, they're not going to understand me completely. So being able to talk with Chrissy and Alex in our podcast and chatting with others who are going through cancer and have survived cancer really has helped me release all of these feelings. I think if I didn't have this podcast, if I didn't have them to talk to, it would be bottled up, and I don't think it would be good. I would have to release it some other way. But luckily I have the podcast and my own foundation, my Wishlist Foundation, being able to talk with these patients, being able to talk with the social workers, some of the doctors. I think that has been an outlet for me since 2012 when I started this organization. So things like that have really been helpful, talking to, people who are going through it or who have gone through it. Another one is do something good for others. And I think when I started my foundation almost 11 years ago now, I think that was the first step into, it wasn't necessarily a survivor's guilt, but that coping strategy. Now with this survivor's guilt feeling, doing good for others, helping others, I think this podcast now is that outlet for that, being able to speak my mind, um, being able to share my thoughts and feelings, and that's really helped me throughout the last couple years. Another one is remind yourself that you can handle the loss and sadness associated with that loss. Um, so I try to, even though I have this feeling of guilt, I do try to remind myself that, you know, I am lucky. I am here for a reason. I am trying to help others who are going through a similar situation. And I think that's really helped in the fact that constantly reminding myself, I can't always say, like, you know, I wish I can be in their place. I don't think that's the right way to think. I think it's to remind myself why I'm still here, looking in the future, what I can do for others, helping others. I think that's a big thing for me, is just reminding myself over and over again when I do have this feeling of guilt, just why I'm here and why I'm doing the nonprofit and the podcast and now these videos, just reminding myself how lucky I am. And the last one, it's kind of middle ground for me. This one, practice self-care. If you have survived a tragic event, you must take care of yourself, both emotionally, physically. Emotionally, I've been trying to get more out, try to be more vulnerable in these videos. The physical part, I fluctuate. I try to go to the gym almost every day or some kind of exercise every day. Just trying to feel physically right. And you kind of get this mindset of like, I do not want to be sick again. As long as I feel healthy, I feel great, then the rest of all, like emotionally, you'll feel great. So I think a big part in that realm of coping is that if you're mentally strong, everything else will follow. So being mentally strong, going to the gym, you want to feel physically strong to match that. And I think I've been doing a good job of that recently, not so much in past years, but now that I'm getting a little bit older as well, it also is good for my health and making sure that I'm taking the right steps to feel healthy and it helps with the mental game as well. What are the benefits of having this feeling? I think it's good to have these feelings because, like I said, if you keep it in, it's not good for you mentally or your emotional or your mental health. And I think for me, it's transforming my feelings into an increased sense of purpose. I think having this sense of guilt has kind of guided me into more of the reason why I started everything, the organization, being part of the podcast, and now this episode just gives me a purpose for being here, purpose for surviving, purpose for my time moving forward in life. So lastly, you might be thinking, does survivor's guilt ever go away? I think over time, yes, it possibly can. But I think as long as, things happen in life, you're always going to have these feelings. I think for me, I'm always going to have these feelings no matter what. It's not to say anyone listening is is still going to have these feelings. They might be able to kind of be desensitized to the issue now and be like, okay, yeah, it happens, but life moves on and you just got to deal with it. But for me, I think it's always going to be there. I think for me, it's a good thing to have these feelings because it still gives me my purpose on, why I'm doing the things I'm doing today. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Survivor's guilt for me, I think, is a good thing because it's led me to all of these different avenues of helping others in the cancer community. So yeah, like I said, if you are going through some kind of traumatic experience, having this survivor's guilt, the most important thing is try not to hold it in, try not to let it build up, try to release it one way or another, whether it's talking to someone, writing it down in a journal, just releasing it somehow so it's not bottled up, because like I said, it's not healthy emotionally and mentally. So please leave a comment or email me. I'd be happy to chat with you. And again, if you like these episodes, please click the subscribe button, click the bell, and give it a thumbs up. That way, it reaches more people so I can possibly help them. So, thank you.